Hi, and welcome to another of the quick and easy beginner-friendly ink experiments. If you're interested in more of this, there is a playlist on my channel, Quick and Easy, and you'll find more of this sort of thing. Today I'm going to be painting this windswept hawthorn tree using Indian ink, a glass pen and a calligraphy brush and a water misting spray. I'm doing it on the back of an old painting and I'm being inspired by this beautiful photograph from Pixabay. I shall leave the link in the description below. My paper is Saunders Waterford cold press paper. It's taped to my board with ordinary decorator's masking tape and my board's at an angle of about 45 degrees. So I'm just going to be loosely trying to create an impression of that photograph. So it's the strong, stark, monochrome sort of look and the directionality of the way this hawthorn tree is so windswept that really captured my imagination. So using my glass pen, which has a nice sort of spiral reservoir to hold plenty of ink, I'm going to start off by just trying to get in a similar sort of shape for the tree. Obviously just inspired by the photograph. I'm not trying to copy every branch or every shape, just to get the general idea. And I think this can be quite sort of take the pressure off if you tell yourself that you're not trying to copy it exactly, but if you're just trying to get the feeling of it and the movement, the expressive sort of line work to give the impression of this beautiful tangled tree. So now for these slightly thicker lines, I'm going to use my small calligraphy brush. If you use one of your paintbrushes for Indian ink, make sure you wash it out straight away, because Indian ink, I think, has some sort of shellac or something in it. So when it dries, it could ruin your brush. So this small calligraphy brush is great for just thickening up the trunks and some of the stronger branches, carefully going over the sort of spontaneous lines that I've made with the ink pen. Just gradually building up my tree, just putting in a little rough bit of ground below the tree as well, and then back to the pen to continue building up these smaller twigs towards the end of all the branches, just keeping it nice and light and nice and scribbly, not getting sort of bogged down about getting anything in exactly the right place. I'm just looking for this tangle of branches all sort of tending in this upward direction to reproduce the sort of feeling and look of the windswept tree. And while my ink is still wet, it's important, because this won't work if your ink is dry, a quick burst with a misting spray, a water misting spray, and that just disperses some of the ink and causes it to run out and gives us this lovely sort of effect of sort of lots of little twigs around the end of the growth of tangled branches. And I'm just going to continue and pull out a few more branches as well, and also bringing out some sort of grasses and sticks and twigs at the base of the tree where I've also sprayed it. Working quite quickly into the wet areas, pulling out more branches. You can see where there's water on the page, I'm getting these soft dispersions, and I think it's looking really pretty. So building up my ground a bit more and then spraying it before it dries and allowing it to run. Because my board's at 45 degrees, then the water and the ink is running downwards and giving me these lovely abstract marks. Just have to be careful not to overdo it, either with the ink or with the water spray. And then as soon as I like the look of it, I'm going to lay it flat and keep it flat and allow it to dry like that, so I don't get any more vertical run of paint or water. And just before it dries, I can go in with a bit more ink and just strengthen up a few of the larger branches, just to improve the structure and look of the tree. Putting in these sort of slightly darker branches and emphasizing those also draws attention to the finer lines. And then once those heavier branches have been just established a little bit more strongly, then I can go in and do a few more of these little tiny scratchy dotty dashy lines just to thicken up around the edges in a few places, and maybe crossing over a few more branches. But that's just about it. I'm happy with that. It's an interesting way to create an ink drawing. Once that dries completely, if you use waterproof ink, you could go over and paint it as well. But I think I'm going to leave this one like it is. I like the simplicity of it, and I'm really pleased with the way the ink flow has worked with the water, because that gives me a really nice contrast of soft and hard edges to this little scene. And for this sort of loose sketch, you can of course do the whole thing with a brush. You could use any sort of nib pen or a fountain pen, anything that produces ink that stays nice and wet, so that when you spray it you get these nice effects. You could always do this with watercolor paint as well, which I think would be quite effective if you used fairly rich mixtures of paint. I'd love to know what you think of this sort of idea in the comments below. I always read all your comments. I can't always reply to all of them because the channel has grown so large these days, but I do read them and I really appreciate your comments. And I'm so thankful for each and every one of you that comes along and visits my channel, which I never thought would grow to be as large as it is now. So thank you so much. And thank you so much to my wonderful Patreon group who support this channel. And if you feel like joining us, please follow the link below. Thanks so much, and I'll see you again soon. And happy painting. Bye.